pitched on Shark Tank, closed a deal with Kevin O'Leary, one of the hardest sharks to close, Mr. Wonderful, $500,000 investment, only to have our episode blocked from airing, and our deal pulled off the table because of the Hollywood politics, right? They looked at our children's programming as competition. So welcome to Hollywood, right? Rapping was my introduction to entrepreneurship. So for example, like my guys, they were street entrepreneurs too, right? So again, they was hustling. I mean, they was hustling dope, and that was never my thing though, right? So what my thing was hustling CDs. You know what I mean? So like I said, 99.
Hey, what's up, good people? Welcome to the Student Entrepreneur Show, a talk show that highlights up-and-coming local legends and founders who dare take success on their vision, even with the odds against them. I'm your host, Zeke Wanganga, and today, man, as usual, I bring the dopest entrepreneurs. And hey, listen, share this, let people know we're out here with it. We're bringing you the top entrepreneurs from Kansas City and all over, so let people know. So for today, my guest has been featured on Startland News, Afrotech, NASDAQ, the Business Journal, among many others. I can't even list all of them. There's so many of them. Also, he has won numerous pitch competitions in KC, like Launch KC, Digital Sandbox, Social Venture Studios, among many others. And most recently, he just won the Michael B. Jordan's Legacy Startup Pitch Competition. Help me welcome the founder of Healthy Hiphop, Roy Scott. How you doing,
Hey,
boss?
what's up, family?
Welcome to the show, man. Your resume is long, man.
Oh, man.
You had me read the whole whole page. How you doing?
Man, blessed by the best, out here getting to it. You already know.
Hey, I always like that. He always gets me started, man. I like the fit too. You're looking sharp.
Hey, man, you know, we call that dipped in butter. You feel me? So every now and then, like, you know what I mean? You do it.
I'm gonna start using that dipped in butter.
Straight up.
Welcome, man. How you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling really good, man. Excited to be here, you know, in the town, rocking with my guy. I've been following your journey as well, man.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we've been
doing this
way
thing.
back, 2019. We went way back.
Yeah, right. Was it maybe before that, like 2018?
2018. Yeah, 2018. We've been working way back, man.
Right.
I am like, whenever I see your posts of all the things you've been doing, man, I'm so proud. I'm just honored and humbled to know you, man. Just the way you elevate, it's like every single time you elevating your game. It's not just, you don't stay at a place. You elevate, you grow, you learn. So, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes to come back on the show, man. It's a full circle. I am so excited to have you here. But for those who don't know who Roy Scott is, for those who don't know you and excited as much as I am, give them a brief bio of who you are, you know, how you got to where you are today.
Right. So, man, I'm a Kansas City native. Always loved hip hop, right, coming up. And so that's a big part of my story. I was the kid that I now aim to serve, right? So I came up loving hip hop in Kansas City. And, you know, Kansas City has a unique culture when it comes to hip hop, especially like in the streets. We really listen to a lot of underground Bay Area music. So if you're talking about, you know, E40, Mac Dre, you know, a handful of them cats.
Yeah.
And we were really influenced by that, right? So basically came up after high school, had an opportunity to go to college on a basketball scholarship, play Division I. I was a hooper. I still actually get buckets. I still go hard with my son now, but had opportunity to play and decided, no, I wanted to rap in the streets of KC. So came out of high school, released my first project. It was called Premeditated. So Mac James Premeditated. That was in 99. And so, you know, especially back then for my time, like it wasn't a bunch of folks dropping out CDs, you know what I mean? And to be an 18-year-old out the box with it.
You were 18, wow.
Yeah, so I came out right out of high school.
Wow.
So, and Mac, the Premeditated album is still like a cult classic to this day. A lot of folks, you know what I mean, from our era really still love it, but dropped that. Dropped the Chop It Up Click album. It was me and some other guys from KC. One of the best groups, and unbiasedly, like as far as like talent-wise, lyrically, from the town. Did that, and then after that, I ended up connecting with Diamond Shields. God rest his soul. Kansas City legend is in his own right. So Diamond Shields had Midwest Side Records. So Tech Nine was one of his artists, his first, one of his biggest artists. And he dropped all of his old stuff. So like The Calm Before the Storm, Mitch Bay, some of those projects. So for me to link with, you know, Diamond, that was like a big jump in the game for me, because Diamond was like the Kansas City version of Master P, or the Kansas City version of a Baby. So he had the hustle money, and he was putting it into the music.
He was reinvesting it in. Gotcha.
Right. So man, did that and pretty much got some traction. Loved the music game, but then having my son is really what changed my life, because I wanted to be the dad for him that, you know, that I wanted. You know what I mean? I wanted to make sure I was present for him, and I knew I had to change some of my behaviors. But I was still rapping, I was still doing my thing, but everything changed for me when I was picking him up from school. and he started repeating my music that promoted, you know, drugs, violence, etc. And at that moment, you know, we was vibing out. I was just like looking at my back seat, like, you know what? Turn the music off. And I was like, man, I just can't do this no more. I'm not about to be this kind of influence on him. So it was really about my love for my son and me wanting to be better for him and to be better for myself. And that's when Healthy Hip Hop was born. So from that, like having the vision of becoming this iconic children's brand, the urban Disney, I've been basically pushing that envelope ever since and really learning what it takes to get there, man. It's a long haul. Like, you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Disney wasn't built in a day, right? So I'm out here really grinding, man, learning the ins and outs, building some strong relationships and building legitimate business.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though, because I know that, you know, being able to transition from being a rapper to an entrepreneur, was entrepreneurship even a word? Was it a thing? How did you even get to that?
Yeah, well, crazy thing is like rapping was my introduction to entrepreneurship. So for example, like my guys, they were street entrepreneurs too, right? So again, they was hustling. You know what I mean? They was hustling dope, and that was never my thing though, right? So what my thing was hustling CDs. You know what I mean? So like I said, 99. So I'm aging myself, right? But that's when like the Master P, I talked about like flipping out your trunk. That's what we did. So for me, that was my introduction to it. So I knew like, okay, it's gonna cost me about $2,000 to record my project. So it's mix, master, record, get the artwork back, etc. So I'm $2,000 on that. It's gonna cost me $1,000 to print up 1,000 CDs. Boom, I go and print up my 1,000 CDs. Now I'm $3,000 in, but for my 1,000 CDs, I'm gonna sell them on average for about $7 a pop. Okay. So I make $7,000 back. So I got $3,000 to recoup my investment, $4,000 is profit. Then I go cop another 1,000. Then I back out. So that was my introduction unknowingly to entrepreneurship. Like this is how I was eating, you know what I mean? So like I said, my guys was hustling. My hustle was a little bit different. It was legitimate. So I would pull up, folks know in KC, I'm bad at knock down the Bannister Mall. Bannister Mall was my stomping ground. When they knocked that down, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was a little hot about that. Like Bannister Mall was my stomping ground. 7th Heaven, you know, I was trapping out of 7th Heaven, car washes, you know, whatever. They would see me out in traffic, moving my unit. So that was my actual introduction into entrepreneurship. And so that mindset and that grind has transferred, but obviously now it's a little bit different, especially being a tech entrepreneur. So having to learn that whole new skill set of like, okay, getting the mobile application developed, you know, getting all your assets in line to pitch a company, your executive summary, pitch decks, knowing who your customer is, knowing what you go to market strategy. So really learning that whole thing. Yeah. But that was my introduction to it, was the music. Yeah.
What did you figure out in terms of like, because I know I've seen people who come to me, I guess, hey, buy my CD. I'm like, I ain't listening to that.
Straight up.
Right? So what did you figure out in terms of selling to people that made them want to buy it from you, and you kept going because you were making, for you to go back each time, you were making profit. What did you figure out?
Well, it's a couple of things. Well, one thing was back then it was more acceptable. Like now, if you hand somebody a CD, like, man, where I'm playing this at, family? Like, let's say, matter of fact, it's crazy you said that. I was just in San Diego at this conference, ASU GVU conference, and some cat rolled up on me with a CD. And just on the strength, because I respect the hustle, that's what I was doing. I just hit his cash app. Let me get your cash app, man. But I can't play the CD.
Ain't no way to play it.
But just out of the respect of the hustle, right? So that's the one thing is back then it was more accepted. Like, okay, y'all, I got a CD player. I'm a bumper. We had this big CD books like that. We was old school, right? Yeah. So that was one thing. The other one is I'm just a people's person, man. So I'm chopping it up. It's just smooth. Like I'm like having cool conversation. Ain't no pressure. Like, man, that's what we do. And we had kind of started building a buzz. And so another good thing about rocking with Diamond and them is we had rap vehicles. So this is, man, we was ahead of the game. Like, so we had our rap trucks. We been in corners, so we pull it up like, oh, man, you know,
it's turned up.
They really want to see that in Kansas City, right? So we had the rap trucks. So we had the look. We had billboards up. I'm talking about we was going
in. Legit.
It was legit, man. But even before that, I still was like hustling my own CDs. But it was more about like the presentation of it. So, you know, a lot of the times, like even the cats, and no knock against the cat, he gave me a CD that was like just in some little plastic wrap.
That ain't it.
I'm like, bro, what's up? Mine was actually legitimately packaged, you know, barcode on the back, back in the day. Barcode on the back, artwork right, cellophane wrapped on it, you know what I mean? Like it was official. It's like, okay, so the presentation was right, and I knew I had the gift of gab where I can, my guys, and it's crazy you said that, because my guys, one of my OGs, he lives in Vegas, now he's like, man, you was selling them CDs, I don't know, Cause he wasn't there, and I'm passionate about it.
Exactly.
So when you're talking to me, it's like, oh, okay, this is.
Yeah.
And then once the word started getting out and people started liking the music, it just made it that that sale. Oh man, I'm seeing Mac out there, like, oh, we seeing Cuz, like, you know what I'm saying? So it was just that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now let's switch sides a little bit, because I feel like, because I was going to ask you, what did you figure out in pitches? Because you've won so many pitch competitions. Now I'm getting a sense of why.
Right.
Because you figure something out to be able to, because you said presentation.
Right.
And every pitch you do is presentation. Talk to me about pitches. What did you figure out? How were you able to win so many pitches?
Well, I think it's the same thing. I think it's about, it's a couple things. So the greatest fear in the United States is public speaking. True. Even above death, right? So a lot of people don't have serious.
They rather die than speak
publicly. Right? I'm saying serious. So it's a big fear for me. That was just always one of my gifts. And I did it just so many times. Just matter of fact, going back when I was in third grade, I had a Dr. Martin Luther King speech presentation at my school, Border Star, right around in the way, from not too far from here. And it was like a 2-page joint that I just memorized.
Wow.
And as I think back, my mom was like, so I had good retention, and I just wasn't afraid to go speak. So I think I already had that gift of naturally, like, listen, I like to get in front of people and I like to perform. So that was the one thing. The next is just telling a compelling story, right? So when you're pitching, you got to be able to keep them engaged. You got to be able to, tell a compelling story. So I always start with my why. And that's one of the big things I learned going through. Matter of fact, I went through Kaufman Fast Track, pitched here for that, all the other pitch competitions I did here with Launch KC, et cetera. It was my storytelling ability. So you definitely need to have a legitimate business. You need to have a legitimate game plan, but you have to be able to tell a dope story, and you have to be likable. So I was checking all them boxes. So I was like, okay, we like Roy. He has an incredible story. Like the mission and the product is strong. Like, let's get behind him.
I mean, I'm happy you said that, because a lot of people who are watching are probably entrepreneurs who are like, man, I pitch, because I've done some pitches and it never goes the way I thought it's gonna go. And so I definitely need to be able to tell a good story, because that's where, like, most investors say they are more interested in the person than the actual company.
Right.
Because if you're not interested enough, you lose their attention.
Right. So especially when you're early stage company, what they say is they're more invested in the jockey than the horse, right? So they're more invested in the person than the actual business, because when you're really early stage, things may change. They will change. They're going to change. So you have to be a good enough entrepreneur, smart enough, and coachable enough to be able to pivot. So that's why they're betting more on you, because I'll come a bet early on Zeke, but if things change, I trust that he's going to be able to pivot, to keep things going. So that's why, again, it's more invested in the jockey than the horse.
What is your key, like, first 30 seconds of your pitch? How do you keep them listening? What do you do to keep them listening? Because I feel like that's like the main. I think I've heard someone on the stage talk about, if you don't get me my pitch in the next 30 seconds, I'm already done with the company.
Right. So basically, I come out. What you want to do is have what they call a high concept pitch. And so what that means is, like, you can explain your business in like one sentence. And a lot of the times what you do is you reference a company that they're already familiar with. So when I come out the gate, I'm like, I'm Roy Scott, I'm founder and CEO of Healthy Hiphop. We are building the urban Disney.
Clicks.
So they're like, man, what cuz don't like Martin?
Explain more.
Yeah, what? So I'm like, we're building urban Disney, right? So I start with that. And then immediately I go from that into my why. And then I show you imagery. I show you pictures of me back when I was thugging. Like, I was just straight goon, like gold grill, like chains. Like, there's like a transformation story. It's like from gangster rap to healthy hip hop, from Mac James to Roy Scott. This is why this is so important. Then I go on to show them, because it's me saying it, and then it's also the visuals with it. And so then I show me and my son, like, in the car jamming, like, this is where it changed. He's repeating my music that promote drugs, violence, and misogyny. I'm out. And to be the man I want to be, for my son and for my family, I'm gonna have to make a change. And Healthy Hip Hop was born. Then I get into, our traction, what we've done, where we're going. So being able to
tell that story.
Right, you want to be able to, like, click with them, like, okay, well, tell me more. I'm interested. And so, what I'm saying? So that's really kind of how I, out the gate, try to get their attention.
A lot of people who are watching this don't know is, like, selfishly, I have this show just to learn more. Just like taking more information, because like what you just said is very important, just because a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that.
Right.
Like the first 30 seconds of a pitch, if you don't say, like, building an urban Disney, you lost people. Like, people don't want to listen no more, and that's it. But let's switch into a part that you probably don't like.
Okay.
Funding in KC.
Right.
Let's talk about that because I know that you won a lot of pitch competition and then you had to, move out. Talk about my funding in KC, man.
Right. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I don't like it. I was just saying that I would say that there's very little for early stage companies, right? And so when I really got acclimated in the entrepreneur ecosystem in Kansas City, I automatically was like, okay, I went through the Kaufman Fast Track, and that's when I started learning about, the opportunities, and I started meeting with the people who were putting these things together, right? So I went through them, and what I found out quickly that I pretty much exhausted it all, like within a year and a half. I went through, I started with Kaufman Fast Track. We got Digital Sandbox. We got Launch KC at that time. Lean Lab KC was doing some investments.
In Institute as well.
The Lean Lab. I got the Rainier Institute Challenge. So, but the thing is like there was only a handful, and then when I got those, then it was like,
what's next?
Yeah. So there was kind of a gap there, and a lot of the times, just some of the investment thesis in Kansas City was just more conservative, and also in full transparency and honesty, like, I wasn't necessarily a typical KC investment. I got a tech company that's based around hip hop culture, and has content. So it was like, we didn't align right. It was more like ag tech. There was some fintech, now industrial tech, but we just weren't aligned best for what was happening here. But even for those entrepreneurs who were aligned, there was a gap. Like if you weren't doing $500,000 in revenue or more, you weren't getting an investment. So you had some folks stuck in that spot who had some really great ideas and had some traction, but needed that capital to really get them to the next level. And so they had to look out, outside of Kansas City. So I think Kansas City's aware of that, and they're now starting to make pivots to change some of that, to try to open more doors and opportunities, and more of a light is coming on KC to give some more of those opportunities. But I see the change taking place now. But Kansas City was good to me, like I said, for me to get those opportunities, especially with my background. So again, I've never raised money at all for a startup, right? I'm just learning, and that early funding I did get, what the one positive, or there was multiple positives, but the biggest positive was it was grant funding. So a lot of people get it twisted, like they don't know you can get grants also for a profit company.
For a profit company.
So all that first like 120 grand or so was just in grants. So I gave up no equity in the company, right? It was just like, okay, get that off the ground.
Yeah.
And then that did introduce me to the right people, to where I did get one of my biggest first institutional investors is in Missouri, the MTC, Missouri Technology Corporation.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, like, you do want to align yourself best, like what's most advantageous for you. But Kansas City, was a really like key component to like me getting the foundational stuff to be able to launch it off and do stuff, in Atlanta, in Los Angeles, like all over the country.
And I mean, I know that I've been seeing your journey and all the pitches you've done, and being able to get all these, either grants or being able to win pitch competitions. And like you said, KC has been a foundation for you, right? On this show, I kind of talk about a red lining when it comes to funding.
Right.
When you talk about that 500K of revenue, people on the east side don't get that 500. You can't get that anywhere.
Right.
Have you seen that in your, in any conversation or in any investments you've been in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a deep conversation, right? Because historically, like J.C. Nichols, I believe, was the founder of Redlining.
True.
We had a street. I think it's still named J.C. Nichols unless they changed it. I think they may have changed. Are they talking about changing it?
I don't know if they changed it, but yeah.
I know at one point they were talking about changing it. But it's a deep history of that. So bottom line is like, it's tied into the fabric, what's happening here, right? So there is some redlining when it comes to investment, right? So what you will see is for underrepresented founders, so if you're a Black founder, a Latino founder, if you're a woman founder, what you're seeing is you're probably not getting the same opportunities as your white counterparts, right? And so that happens, but that's not just happening only in Kansas City. That's happening everywhere. But you'll see some of that stuff here. You'll see a lot of fundraising is relational, like, so you know what I'm saying. So if you ain't got relationships over there,
it ain't gonna work out.
The money's over there. You ain't got relationships over there, and sometimes again, like historically, you may have been blocked from that. You may have been, no, you can't come over here. So, so I mean, it's happening everywhere. But again, I think it's also a thing where we're becoming aware of it.
We're becoming aware of now, like trying to make.
We're becoming aware of it. It's like, okay, we know what's up. Like, and now the people who are in these positions of power are also like, okay,
there's a pressure on them to do something.
Let's start making some changes. Well, we got to start making some changes. You know what I mean? Like, and Kansas City is like a city that's catching fire. You know, you got the Chiefs.
Exactly.
See what you're doing with Mahomes. You can go anywhere in the world. They're gonna know. They know Mahomes. He's bringing such a light to Kansas City and us winning. And so, even with the new airport terminal, like we feel like a
the World Cup is coming too. It's like a lot going on.
The draft is here. So you see, like things are shifting. But yeah, we got a lot of work to do. You know what I mean?
And I mean, also with that, like, because like I feel like Missouri and KC have been doing their things on like behind the lights,
right?
And they can do whatever they want. But now because of all this attention, whatever happens in KC goes national that easy.
Right.
You know, there's been some cases in KC here that went viral just because of KC is now, it's no longer a hidden city.
Right.
People know because of what the Chiefs have been doing, right?
Right.
And it's a good thing for people who want change like myself.
Right.
Because we want that positive change.
Right.
We want that attention, right? But I want to ask you this though, because I know that you are based in Atlanta and you're also based in KC. What took you to Atlanta? Like, what was that like?
Well, so first, you know, hip hop culture has been thriving in Atlanta for at least the last 30 years.
True.
I mean,
ATL,
lived there, right?
ATL, yep.
And so what happened was I had started going down there in 2018.
Okay.
So 2017, 2018, when we won Launch KC, part of that winning, we got the grant, but we also got access. This is back when WeWork was cracking, right? So we had access to any WeWork. And so when I was going down there, I was going to the WeWork consistently and started building my relationships and building my network in Atlanta. Like, I want to get in the Atlanta ecosystem. I want to see what's going on down here. I want to talk with the movers and shakers, you know what I mean? Make some stuff happen. And so did that. And fast forward, we got accepted into the Atlanta Techstars Social Impact.
Okay.
So it was Techstars, it was Social Impacts, it was about entrepreneurs who were doing something good, and, you know, for the world. And so boom, that was like my intro into Atlanta, right? And so now I'm getting heavily connected. So that was really the kind of the main connector to get. I was already spending some time down there, but then that kind of connected me in. But then boom, right when that happened, you know, COVID hit. I mean, so it slowed things down quite a bit. But me just taking that leap of faith and going down there and building relationships, and then also, you know, getting accepted into Techstars, that was a huge catalyst for me, like being active in Atlanta.
From your perspective, being in Atlanta, being in KC, what have you seen in Atlanta that KC needs to catch up with? Like in terms of like entrepreneurs, in terms of like invest, in terms of like what do you do? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, I think here's the thing: is like Atlanta is just a bigger city, it's a bigger market.
True.
Right. So Kansas City, it's a bigger city, but still small. It's still smaller. You know what I mean? So I mean, as far as population wise, right? So Atlanta's a bigger city, a bigger market. So what you're seeing is there's just a lot more activity going on there, especially in the hip hop entertainment media space, right?
Tyler Perry studio, the whole 9 years.
So I'm saying, so I think that's the key difference. It's just there's more activity there, and that's why I'm saying like the alignment, and especially for what I'm doing. So the alignment was just there for me to make sure I had my presence was strong. I was like, man, I got to be here. This is where the movers and shakers in my space are at, and then that's where they move. And so that's what I would say is the key difference is just the amount of activity. And I don't even know if that can necessarily be like, I don't know if that could be replicated because like, again, it's just Atlanta Metro, I'm guessing is like 5 million versus the KC Metro is like 1 million. So it's just bigger. And it is the hotbed, is the hub of hip hop and of like film media. Even if like a lot of Marvel movies and bigger movies are being filmed in Georgia because they're given tax credits, and even though those folks still may live in LA, kind of a similar thing. They live in LA, but they're coming to film to Georgia because they're getting these different tax breaks and benefits, and there's a lot of activity happening there. So and so honestly, like even Atlanta, like on the venture scene. So you know, you always historically had you know, Silicon Valley. They just in a world of their own, right? You had New York City, you had LA. And so you had these major cities on the coast that were known like for doing venture, right?
True.
Even though they may have their own verticals. Atlanta is one of those that's kind of actually on the come up as well. So Atlanta's like, they're shifting and their move is really coming more venture. Because a lot of the times, even Atlanta in some regards, some of their investments were more conservative, kind of like the Midwest, the Southeast.
So
Not quite as conservative as Kansas City, but now there's a shift happening there too, where this venture wave is happening there, where especially like black VC, black founders, black entrepreneurs, like it's a wave special happening in Atlanta. And then lastly, but Miami got some stuff going too. Like Miami's got some.
I mean, Miami been booming for a minute, but I don't know about the tech space, but
Miami tech space right now is hopping. So you can see like that Southeast stuff is really, there's a wave happening right now. But yeah, so I would say it's like that'd be the difference. It's just bigger market, more activity.
Yeah.
And I think some of that you can see is shifting here. So now you're seeing some of the activity and stuff happening in Kansas City too.
Okay. Let's shift gears a little bit. Family, man. How has that been for you, and being able to like work, and how's that been for you, man?
Well, man, that's honestly like family is my top priority. So my family is my top priority, and that's my motivation. That's what keeps me thriving. And so, in fact, and I was studying, like, I've been looking at other like entrepreneurs, and specifically like entrepreneurs of faith, and listening to some of their stories, and like, cause I'm a man of faith, and what I've seen and what I've learned is like my number one business is my family. That's my number one business, like making sure my wife and my children are straight.
Yes.
Because if that ain't straight, it don't matter what's going on over here. I mean, you got to really take care of home first. And so that is something that when it comes to balance that you'll see, because a lot of times you think of entrepreneurs being like obsessive about their business, obsessive about solving this problem, obsessive about, getting the market, getting the money, etc. And what can happen is that obsession is now putting your business and your entrepreneurs ambitions above your family, and now that
never works out.
Never works out. I mean, so for where I want to stand on is like, listen, I'm hungry. I'm obsessed about doing this business off top, but I'm more hungry for my family. I'm more hungry to make sure I'm present with them, and doing this has allowed me the freedom to be with them, so I can be on my own terms, my own hours. You know what I mean? So I'm obsessive about that first, my wife and my kids. So, and it gets challenging at times because sometimes I'm the other way.
Exactly.
I can find myself going so hard in the business. Like this year, bro, I've been traveling, like talking about nonstop, bro. I find myself in, and I gotta check myself. Like, hold on, I'm more like engaged in the business than I am in my family. So I gotta, but I'm self-aware to check myself. To check myself, and like, let me check back in and make sure I get things, right at home. So,
I want to ask you, what is your routine to keep you in check for your family? What are some things you do to like, hey, this is the day I want to spend time with family, and that's the only day. Like, what are some routine you'd use, like, hey, to get you back to that, making sure you have your family as priority?
Well, my routine is the Word of God. Like that's what keeps me in check. So really being rooted in the Word of God. And a lot of the times in entrepreneurship and business, you don't hear that, or folks ain't even about to say that. Like, and I don't have any judgment against anybody's belief or non-belief. Just for me, that's what has been the key to keep me. That's what keeps me rooted. So I know in the Word of God what He's showing me. Where He's telling me to go, and being committed to taking that path versus trying to take my own. Right. And so that's been the discipline part. Because sometimes I get so ambitious, so I'm ahead of myself, and God's like, I'm not even going that way, and I got to check myself. Okay, which way are you going? And He points to my family. I'm here. Make sure you locked in it, and then I'm able to navigate everything else the right way. You know what I'm saying? So that's really my routine, is just making sure I'm daily in the Word of God, and basing my life and how I speak, how I move, and how I think in that.
Yeah, because entrepreneurship can get a lot sometimes. You have to have a foundation, because if not, you just go out and have nothing to hold you back. Right. So, I mean, I'm also like, I pray to God. I go to church every Sunday. And my own, I'm not like religious. I don't do religion.
I'm not religious either.
But I want to make sure that I have a relationship with God, just because that foundation is very important. Like, especially with family. Family is key. Like, if your home is not, like, you don't feel safe at home, you are in trouble.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? But I want to ask you this, even in that same line, right? Leadership, man. What are your leadership rules? What are your leadership, tips that you do to make sure you have a good foundation?
Right. Well, I think it kind of goes back to kind of a cliche old rule, like the golden rule, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. So I'm really big on like serving people, like, and I'm always about moving with integrity and doing things the right way. You know what I mean? So I'm always going to be looking out for your best interest. And that's what you see in this game a lot of the times. Most people are not, right? So, but I'll stay on that if you on that or not. And so that's my thing. And in that course, if I make a mistake, I own it. You know, I own it and I take responsibility, you know what I mean? And I'll apologize and I'll get back right. So really it's just about that. It's like coming from a heart set and a mindset of like serving others.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? And like still serving you, making sure you're serving self to where like you are taking care of your mental, physical, spiritual health. So you're in the right place. And then that's going to empower you to pour into others and make sure you're doing things the right way.
So let me ask you this: as entrepreneurs, and also I want us to stay in this faith because that's very important. That's very key. As entrepreneurs, we always have times where things always go the way we want. Have there been times you want to quit and just like pack it up and go, or have you always had a high note all the way through? How do you go through those times, man?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think every entrepreneur gets those moments where it's like, man, this is just unbearable, right? And you got to have the perseverance and the resilience to just keep going, even when, like, you start kicked it off, even when all odds are stacked against you, or even when things don't look good. And so, man, absolutely, man. Like, for example, like the Shark Tank story. So that's another part of my pitch. So when I'm pitching the company, I also talk about our Shark Tank incident, where fast forward, we pitched on Shark Tank, closed a deal with Kevin O'Leary, one of the hardest sharks to close, Mr. Wonderful. $500,000 investment, only to have our episode blocked from airing, and our deal pulled off the table because of the Hollywood politics, right? They looked at our children's programming as competition. So welcome to Hollywood, right? So in that moment, bro, you talking about
what do you usually say, like Disney's big foot in the teeth?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so basically,
I never forget it.
Right. Yeah, so basically, it was like
Mickey Mouse, right?
So I tell the story about after we got that rejection. So you're talking about mountain high to valley low. And this may have been the biggest dip I've ever experienced. You talk about we finna air on Shark Tank.
Yes.
The national exposure alone, they were getting like 7 million viewers. So if the deal goes through or not, 7 million viewers are on this.
Eyeballs.
This is about to break us. Some folks about to see us, and a windfall of opportunity is coming. From that to nothing, to thrown in the trash can, deal off the table, aired episode not airing, etc. Right? And so the mountain high, valley low of that, man, I was crushed. I'm saying, like, man, what we gonna do next? And so, but it was nothing but just my pure like faith, and it was almost like there's no turning back for me. Like a lot of folks, and I'm not judging whatever their methodologies or principles are on this. Like some folks would be like have plan A, B, or C. Nah, man, like this is what I'm doing. Like this is it. This is it for me. Like I'm fully in this, and I'm committed for a lifetime. So a lot of people are just like, oh, if I do this, like, no, man. Like there was no wavering for me.
Yeah.
And that didn't matter who was with me or not with me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the Shark Tank thing with me or not. It didn't matter if my co-founder at the time was with me or not, even though I had big love for him. It didn't matter if he wanted to quit. It's cool, man. Big love, and now those people now be like, man, like Roy, wow, like, you stuck with it, man, and you did it, even when it was in the darkest times, and even now it's still like it's challenging. Yeah, it's super duper dummy challenging, but I'm just so passionate about it. This is my life's work, and I'm not doing nothing else, man. Like this is what I'm on. Like for the rest of it, it's my life's work. So I ain't no like, oh, I'm quitting. No, ain't no quitting, man. And so we'll build it to, an acquisition, and I still will be in on it. But this is my life's work, man. It's my passion. So you got to be all in or not. Like my humble opinion is that like you can't be like, oh, I'm doing this, well, I'm gonna do this too, just in case. You already like that mindset is already. You're not going to experience the success you want with that mindset if you're already thinking like, well, I might do this just in case. Oh, I'm gonna here's my backup plan. I want no backup plan, family. That's what I'm on.
Like A to Z.
This is what I'm doing. This is it. And so nothing's gonna stop me.
I think that I don't even say it to say if you want it bad enough, it's gonna happen. Right. That's what I always say.
You gotta stick with it.
Gotta stick with it.
That's the thing. Like if you're pursuing something great, you're going to face great adversity.
True.
That's just it. True. And human nature is when you face great adversity, a lot of times you want to resist. Right? So that's just human nature.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to resist the resistance. Yeah, be like the fight against that, and like, no, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
No matter how hard, tough it gets.
Yeah. People gonna leave.
Right.
People gonna doubt
That's
you.
just part of the game.
Yeah. People gonna like be like, yeah, that's stupid. Why are you doing that?
Right. But you can't take it personal, though, man. Like that's what I'm learning too. Is with maturity and experience, it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not mad at nobody. It's all love. Like
yeah.
It's just about keeping the communication open.
Wow. I I literally was having a meeting today with like a younger lady. I was like, yo, listen, you have a vision. If it looks good, it's going to be some real challenge to get there, right? But you can't quit because like no one's going to believe in your vision because it's your vision. It's not their vision.
You got to go do the work and make it happen.
Got to go all in.
Right.
But I really want to ask you this. I want you to give us that sweet Roy Scott pitch. You got 30 seconds. An investor is watching right now. What's your pitch?
My name is Roy Scott. I'm founder and CEO of Healthy Hiphop. We are building an urban Disney, infusing hip hop culture with innovative technology, education, and positive attributes. We just launched our platform. There's two sides of it: the streaming platform for educators and parents to have access to our educational resources, and a mobile application, which is like a Spotify meets TikTok for children and families. Getting big traction. Our biggest contract to date with the Dallas Independent School District. Just won the Legacy Classic Pitch competition with Michael B. Jordan. We built the product, got the team strong, content strong, got key people behind this in hip hop and in the industry. Now we're ready to take this thing to the next level and really become the urban Disney, an iconic children's brand.
I need to bring a man to the show. I just like need to like drop a mic. Right. Like, that was fire. You're still raising funds, right?
Yeah.
Why should an investor care about this?
Well, they should care about this because this is the future we're talking about. The children are our future, right? And what we feed them and how we prepare them for this next generation is critical. And like it or not, I think everybody knows from every background that hip hop is the voice of our youth.
True.
Period. True. Like hip hop is what moves our youth. So now we like, okay, we want to use this voice, but change the narrative. You see what I'm saying? So first of all, the impact, which is most important to me, and then also on the back end, like of course, like it's going to make money, right? True. So we're making money, but big picture is like to be an urban Disney, like it's the IP, it's the tech, it's the, you know what I mean? So there's a mixture of this, like this is why they should care, is because it's going to change the world and it's going to create a massive return. And I think that's what a lot of investors come at. But now like this, what's happening with social impact entrepreneurs, like this is what it's about, is making that impact.
Yes.
And also you're investing in a person and in a team who is just passionate and just not going to quit until we, make it happen. Make this thing come to full, fruition.
What does your company need right now?
Just that. So we are raising capital right now. Okay. We need connections, partnerships with strategic partners on the corporate side. We are actually doing some hiring and stuff too. So, and we're even working with some students. We actually got a few students and interns, but any of those type of connections and just also just using the product. So you can download the mobile app, start rocking it with your kids.
You got a whole dance routine too.
Oh yeah, it's a few dance routines. Like, we're getting big.
You get jiggy with it.
Right.
I've seen your presentation with, you were up in the state. I was like, yo, this guy, I rock with this. So,
I appreciate it.
So let me ask you this. What are some resources as an entrepreneur you've utilized? Either, podcast funding. What are some resources you want to plug people, entrepreneurs watching today, to be able to go use?
Yeah, I would say the resources I was tapping in the most is just like really tapping into your local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Because kind of like the story we talked about, even when my journey was, I was unaware, I lacked the knowledge of what was happening. So once I started going through these programs in my ecosystem, I started learning about them. So I would say do as much as you can now to build relationships in your ecosystem.
Yes.
And that's going to make you aware of the opportunities, and it's going to be a win-win, because not only is it going to give you the knowledge of those, you're going to be building relationships with the people who have created the programs. So when you come down the line, that's how I was doing it. Like, oh, well, this is Roy. He went through Kaufman Fast Track. We love his business and we love him. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and that's how, because a lot of these programs you're going to go for, it's going to be based on relationships.
Yeah.
So I would say do that. I would say keep your, there's actually one really good resource. It's called Millennial Mogul.
Okay.
You can just Google that. And basically Millennial Mogul, I know the founder, Credible. And basically it's giving out pretty much weekly, like all of these like early stage funding opportunities. So if it's grants, if it's accelerators, if it's pitch competitions, it's like all of that is in there. And so I would say go check them out and try to tap into much of their early stage stuff as you can.
Probably the second to last question from me. What is one piece of advice you've gotten or someone's given you grabbed from a book somewhere that has helped you through your journey?
Well, I got some really good advice from my mentors. I believe it was actually my guy from KC, Davion Ross.
Davion,
legend.
Yeah, legend, yep.
Yeah, man, KC, legend. And he said, you know what? If you ask for money, you'll get advice. If you ask for advice, you get money.
I'm gonna start going and ask for advice from today onwards.
Right, that's it.
I'm like, but can you give me money though?
No, the thing is, when you ask for advice, it's like it shows them like it builds rapport. You know what I mean, it's like okay, because especially talking with funders, like they're getting asked for money all the time. So you come in like, man, I need advice. Like how do I properly, simple stuff, form the company, go to market, whatever that advice may be. You come and asking for advice, they're like, dang, well, like I rock with Zeke. He actually came in here. I talked to 10 people today, 9 of them asked me for money. He didn't. So when the time is right, it'll be like, okay, well, hey, I'm gonna invest in this, or hey, I'm gonna connect you with so and so because they're in your space.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it shifts it because when you come and ask for money, they're like, I remember a lot of these folks get asked all the time. So you come ask for money, they just most of the time checking out, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We know what they hear in there, and that and a part of that is like keeping your motives pure. So I was talking to my guy, I want to make this really quick, I know we're finna wrap up, I was talking to my guy, I was just in San Diego, and it's some same questions. My young guy in venture, like doing some amazing stuff. My guy Martin, we call him Mac, and shout my guy out. And we were talking about different ways like raising capital, like what were some of my successes. And I was like, well, ultimately, I came in this thing like with just pure motives. I had no agenda. A lot of people got an agenda, like, oh, I'm gonna come and rap with Zeke because he connected here and here, and if I get in, I'll get. I never come in with an agenda. I just come in like want to just genuinely make a connection with you, and let's build a relationship and build a friendship. And we'll see what happens. Like, but I'm not coming in like, oh, well, Zeke can do this for me, so let me just come in and. That was so keep your motives pure, and that's what opened up so many doors for me.
Yeah.
In fact, simple stuff like so I'm in ASU, GVU, and we're at the Kapoor Capital. They're one of the big funder in like education. They're also just overall tech. And here I am speaking with the creators of it. I didn't even know. And my dude was like, "Man, you was in front of Frida," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like them was the ones who like created this thing. You know what I mean? And I was like. But I still went into it like genuine, like
genuine,
man. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm gonna rap with you 100. You know what I mean? And so build solid relationships, but do it with pure motives, man. Genuine.
See, what they say is real, recognize real. You know what I mean? Because like the same with me. I always tell people you have to be like interested in person. Like you have to be genuinely interested in the person, to be able to connect with them. Don't just go because you want to get something from them. But because if I'm not interested in you, I'm not gonna talk to you regardless of how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't like that. It's not gonna. It doesn't do me any help just because I won't learn anything from that conversation. Because all I'm trying to do is sell, and not receive whatever you have to offer me apart from money. Right. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Straight up.
But let me ask you this before I ask you the final question is this: do you ever look back to the days when you were a rapper, and be like, man, some things would have gone differently if I hadn't changed? Do you ever look back and say, hey, man, that was a right decision?
Oh yeah, I know, man. Yes, it was the only decision I could have made that would have kept me off of like I was on a head-on course with destruction. You know what I mean? Like I was already on that path. I was already doing a whole bunch, and I'm just talking about how I was treating my body. How I was speaking. How how I was living. It was just it was treacherous. And matter of fact, part of my story I talked to him about last night. So I was at the KC Invest Ed dinner last night, and shout out to them and KC UVF and everything they're doing at UMKC. And when I told my story at the end, it was dope that the woman came to me. She was like, you know what? I'm really glad that you chose character. You know what I mean? When she was talking about when I was talking about my son and my story, she was like, you chose character.
Yes.
I was like, you're right. So, but choosing that character basically changed the whole trajectory of my life to be in the right space, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and now, I move with 100% passion and conviction that's on the right track.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if you elevate yourself, only elevated people can come around you.
Right.
That's how you change your energy. Your energy around you changes. People attract energy, like mine attack.
100%. Well, that was my slogan going into 23 because I went through such a gauntlet of fundraising. Because of course, you post your wins, but like, man, Roy, he getting everything he do, he going. But I'm taking so many no's, bro. Like I made,
but no one knows.
I got 3 no's. I mean, got 3 yeses, right? I got like 150 no's.
A buttload of no's.
100 plus of them things, right? So that's part of the game. But going into this year, in 2022. Fundraising is always just really challenging. It takes a lot out of you, man. Like emotionally, everything just beats you down. And so I was like, you know what? This year, I'm just attracting. I'm not forcing nothing, man. I'm just attracting. You know what I mean? Because I realized like I'm the prize. Like I love me, and I'm not about to force. Man, if you ain't rocking with me, like, and this is not like arrogant, but if you're not rocking with me, that's just your loss. Like, man, because this is what I'm doing, dog. Like I know what I'm on, and I know what I got to offer, and I know my worth. And so ain't no love lost, but I'm going into it more attracting than forcing. And just like you said, I've been attracting the right energies, the right people to me, the right things are happening. So,
and I mean, I also say this too, because like sometimes you have to know what is for you and what is not for you.
Right.
And if you keep forcing it, you are gonna like dread whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
Because at some point you're gonna be like, man, I gotta quit this because it's not working out.
Right.
And you gotta know that. Like for me, for example, I have projects. I'm like, I can't do that project, even though it pays a good amount. Let me find someone who can actually be in peace and do it.
Right.
And I go have my peace.
Right.
There's nothing more important than that peace.
100%.
But anyways, Roy, thank you so much for coming back on the show. This has been, man, just impeccable episode. It's just, you dropped so many jewels. But I want to ask you this. How can people get in contact with you, Healthy Hip Hop, if they want to download the app or see what you got going on?
Yep, just search Healthy Hip Hop, 3 words in the Google store or the iPhone store. It's out there. Same on the socials, just Healthy Hip Hop across the board. And my personal is royscott.ceo, and that's on everything. So hit me there, man. I'll follow back. I'll rap with you. I'm pretty open. I'm a cool cat, man. Just doing some stuff that's gonna transform this next generation of kids. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, thank you for all you do, because the kids are the future, man.
Absolutely.
And being able to steer them in the right path is very important. So I am glad and just honored that you are. Keep grinding and keep winning, because all your win is my win. Because whenever I see I like it, I come in, it's my win too. Because I'm like, I know him and I know how far he's come. So
right, we family.
Thank you for keeping it going, man. Because you inspire me personally. I get inspired whenever I see your stuff. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah,
but thank you so much. And for those who are watching from home, you know what to do. Go subscribe, share, let people know we are here in KC. We get all the top entrepreneurs. You know what we do. I'm your host, Zeke Wanganga, and hey, as I always say, don't give up, stay fired up, because more good is coming. See you on this episode. Bye bye for now. To see how our city's entrepreneurs do what they do, tune in to City Entrepreneur on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Episodes drop every Thursday.